these black bags because as Daft Punk, we're not showing our faces in pictures or television.
Who revolutionized dance music the most? And people say Daft Punk.
They're robots. They don't need to be like anybody else.
All right, we get it. Daft Punk's the greatest band ever. Go, 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 go! If I ever feel better. Oh, wait, that's Phoenix. Hey, welcome to Cordkillers. Our mission to report the intel from the front lines of the cord cutting revolution so you can watch the stuff you love when you want, where you want, whatever damn device you want, all the wants. That's what we're about. I'm Tom Merritt.
Hey man, Tom Merritt. I resent the fact that you felt the need to curse. There are very likely children, possibly millennials, who may eventually want to become cord killers, although it's not looking very likely according to an upcoming story. But what I want to know is this opening stuff when we had Kanye West talking about that Daft Punk is so good that he had to use all of their music for one of his songs.
You've read a lot into that.
I'm just going to say, once you build an entire castle on a foundation somebody else created, of course you talk about how they're the greatest foundation creators in the history of mankind. What were we watching before this started?
So BBC Worldwide is producing a documentary on Daft Punk. They've got old archive interview footage. They've interviewed a lot of their collaborators like Pharrell and Kanye West, Giorgio Moroder.
Yeah.
Marauder.
Giorgio.
That is supposed to be coming out sometime this year.
Right on. Dude, no, that's fantastic. That's a good find and better than anything I found for the starting off stuff.
But I found something for our primary target.
What?
We've got studies, lots of studies, and they all might seem to say different things, but I think we can show you through the power of our analytical minds that they're all saying the same thing. Investment banking firm Evercore examined millennials' behavior, and they even broke the millennials up into groups, 18 to 23, 24 to 29, 30 to 35. That's right, 30 to 35-year-olds, you're still millennials. More than 50% in each group was unlikely to cut pay TV for online streaming. More than half of the 30 to 35-year-old group watched most of its video on a television, not on a mobile device, not on a laptop. Amongst all of the groups, number one was Netflix, number two is YouTube for their online viewing. Now that would seem to say, wait a minute, they're not cutting pay TV. But the conclusion of the report was that, well, they're definitely cutting it slower than people think the millennials are cutting it. Then Nielsen did a Q2 audience report in the U.S. They said in the last year, pay TV households decreased 1.2% to 100.4 million. Broadband-only homes rose more than 50%. That broadband-only means no TV, from 2.2 million to 3.3 million. Streaming video on demand, like Netflix, subscriptions rose 18% in Q2. 45% of households in the U.S. subscribe to some kind of streaming video service. Live TV viewing fell by 8 minutes per day on average to 4 hours and 11 minutes per day. Online video rose 19%. Again, seems like maybe this is saying everybody's cutting the cord. But what Nielsen said was, they're moving away from traditional television, but slowly. Here's the other stat from Nielsen. App and web smartphone rose 36 minutes from 2013 to 56 minutes in 2014 to more than an hour and 6 minutes in 2015. And App Annie, the third study of our three, says, you know what's doing the best in app land? Video apps, YouTube, Twitch, Amazon. And the ones making the most money are HBO Now and Hulu, Brian.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, newsflash, Cordkillers has a story that says maybe cord killing is reality, maybe it's not. And, we've kind of been here before. Let's go in order, starting with the millennials story. What I found...
Well, hold on before that. I don't think these studies are saying maybe it's real, maybe it's not. These studies are saying it's absolutely real and it's slow.
Yeah, yes, okay, but specifically the millennial story, I went through and I double-checked, and forgive me if I missed it, then please point it out to me, but it only focused on millennials who are giving up cable, people who had cable and then stopped having cable. But as we've discussed before, the story of the millennials is that they're the cord never generation. So in other words, of anybody least likely to have cable to begin with, it's this group. So it makes sense to me that so few of them would be giving it up. I mean, does that ring true to you?
I'm trying to find it, but essentially they found that that plenty of them have cable.
Yes,
the majority of millennials have no plans to cut. Only a small sliver say they plan to cut it soon. Less than 20% say they've already abandoned pay TV.
Again, that's different from that. That
so
cuts
you're
out
saying
all the
what
cord
is the
nevers.
percentage of them who never had it in the first place?
Correct, because if we had OMG Chad here, he would be bellowing at the top of his lungs that, well, of course they're not cutting cable because they never had it to begin with, and I couldn't find any mention in there of this. So, and again, that's not to that is speculation on my part. The core of the story is those who have cable seem to be sticking to it for at least a while, and you're right, cord cutting is definitely happening. It is happening slowly, which to me is a good thing. That means that this is a healthy movement. This means that we are not seeing a fad. This means that we're not seeing something that's going to be a flash in the pan and then go away. The fact that again, like just the amount of minutes watched or hours watched on an app or web or on a smartphone. Q2 2013, 36 minutes. Q2 2014, 56 minutes. The story there is it almost doubled. Q2 2015, year over year, we're looking at like a 15%, 20% increase online. We're only going to see this keep on going and going, right?
Yeah, and I wish I could find it, because my impression is that they were not trying to skew the numbers by saying, we only talked to millennials who have had pay TV. I really think, and I would like to find out if that's true or not. I really think what they were trying to say is like, millennials haven't abandoned pay TV in the amounts that everyone think of. Just because a Chad Johnson doesn't mean that's representative sample of everybody else.
And that's fair enough.
But again, it kind of doesn't matter whether your interpretation or my interpretation is the correct one, because what all the studies say is, but they are moving away from it.
Well,
it's just not fast. So the people, and that's what the cable industry has been crowing about for years, is like, oh no, it's just an economic reason, or people aren't cutting the cord at all. They're just, they're coming back in droves. And the fact of the matter is, we are seeing what I consider to be signs of an avalanche, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing little bits of rocks starting to tumble down the slope. And the cable companies are like, it's just little rocks. It's just little rocks. I mean, that's not going to hurt you. And I feel like we haven't reached the tipping point yet.
I actually am giving up on the tipping point metaphor. I don't think there will be an avalanche. I think that we're looking at a glacial movement. Now, on the one hand, we use glacial movement to mean something that moves very, very slow. However, from a momentum
I think it'll be
perspective,
linear, that there won't be an inflection point of any kind.
My point is a glacial movement is also an astounding movement because it has an extraordinarily large amount of mass. And so, yes, we're seeing a slow shift, but we're watching this entire river of all of humanity's watching habits shift. And the fact, like that, to me, that's something that once it starts, it does not stop. An avalanche starts quickly and ends quickly. Glacial movement, just once it starts moving, it never stops. And that's what I feel like we're seeing.
Yeah, and I think you're probably right. And when I say we haven't reached the tipping point yet, all I mean is there is a point where it will become obvious that, oh no, more people are doing this, and we haven't reached that point. Whether it will actually be some kind of inflection point, or more likely, I think you're probably right, Brian. I hadn't really thought about it. It will be linear and slow.
And also inexorable. I feel like, it's interesting to watch, and we'll talk about this with some of the emails that we got later on. But, both my parents and Bonnie's parents are a fascinating case study as you see the cord cutting movement reach people who are dealing with, my parents have had the ability for half a decade now to watch a ton of content on Netflix, yet they haven't really grasped it or embraced it. And when they do it to watch like old Poirot mysteries or whatever. It's like they pay $8 a month only to watch this one thing. And I feel like that's shifting. I feel like they're starting to realize that there's more and more original and fascinating and wonderful content waiting for them.
Yeah. I'm looking at multi-channel news, and they say About 10% of 24 to 29-year-olds said they were very likely to cut the cord. 10% of other age groups, nearly 20% of those 24 to 29 and 30 to 35 said they had already cut the cord or had never had the cord.
Oh shoot. Okay, so that does alter things. Then that means I'm wrong, and I had been overestimating the amount of cord neverers there were. That's
that
amazing.
Seems low though, doesn't it?
I agree. I think that's
still
why
not
I
convinced.
assumed that couldn't have been the case. Couldn't have been correct.
Because this is a write-up of the study, and I wonder if that's not correct either. All
well,
right.
if you know anything, if you're part of this study, please write us at cordkillers@gmail.com, and we'll be happy
because we don't
to
want to
read
have
your
to
stuff.
pay to get the actual study.
Yeah, come on.
We're not being lazy.
We're running on a shoestring
These studies-
budget here.
I mean, these studies are expensive. You got to pay like thousands and thousands of dollars for this stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, we don't want to spend all the money that the patrons give us on one study. We want to spend it on giving you a consistent show every week.
Tom, you're not implying that thousands and thousands of patrons help keep us loud, live, and independent every single week, are
That's
you?
exactly what I'm implying, Brian.
Okay, well, you're certainly not implying that over 2,097 patrons have come together in order to make our dreams come true and allow us to be an independent podcast.
That's the kind of thing that I would like to imply, yes.
Oh, okay,
In fact,
you're not going to
I'll go beyond
imply.
that. Brian, I'll go beyond implying. I'll state it outright. There are 2,098 bosses who make it possible for us to do this show every week.
Did we just gain a boss right now during the middle of that ad? That was amazing. Yeah, man. Thank you so much to all of our fantastic bosses. Head on over to patreon.com/cordkillers. Yeah, if you derive any kind of value from the news that we talk about, from the analysis that we talk about, from the reviews that we give, or more importantly, if you yourself have cut the cord and you're saving a few bucks thanks to the tips that you get on this program, why don't you kick a little bit of it back to us? That's all we ask.
Let's give you some signals intelligence for your money.
I mean, also because we love you, you don't have to give us money to get signals.
No,
intelligence.
you don't have to. There's plenty of people willing to pick
I
you
mean,
up.
we're not going to turn down your money. Fine.
No,
yes,
we're
give
not going
us
to turn
money.
it away.
All right,
And
go
there-
ahead.
But we're just saying, it doesn't matter whether you have supported us or whether you're wrestling with your conscience. You still get to hear signals intelligence. Netflix has a list out last week identifying what episode they say turned you into a binger on different series. So they identified the episodes after which 70% of the audience stuck around. They looked at data across 16 of their markets, including the US, UK, and Australia. Interestingly, the Dutch get hooked on a show fastest. They are the ones who will start a show and are more likely to finish it because, you know, of that Netherlands-like perseverance. Whereas the Australians, they take a while to get hooked. More of them abandon than stick around in the long run.
So this was fascinating to go through because subjectively, and for the audio listeners, yeah, you can look up the article, but I think we should go through for the audio listeners. And as we go through this list, I want you to, if you are familiar with the series, think to yourself, what was the episode that made you decide, made you have the turning point to go forward? I'm kind of shocked because the first, they're in alphabetical order. The first one,
We
Arrow.
don't have to go through all of them, but let's pick the shocking ones. Yeah.
Okay, well, Arrow, episode 8. You're telling me I have to watch 8 episodes of Arrow before I'm into it?
Well,
'Cause
and
that's
here's
gonna
the
be a
thing.
problem.
I want to call BS on this number a little bit. What Netflix is saying is after episode 8, 70% of the audience went on to finish the season.
Like, yes. So if you made it to 8, then you were so all in, you stuck in all the way. However, I mean, that's how we were with Marco Polo. We hate watched most of that series. You
Well,
know?
and it's different for different series, right? Marco Polo's on here. It says episode 3, but there were only 10 episodes, 12
yeah,
episodes.
also
of that.
by episode 3, you know, I don't know, we felt like we were trapped.
Arrow
And
has
had to watch.
26 episodes a season, or 23 or something like that.
Okay, so Bates Motel was episode 2. Better Call Saul, episode 4? Are you kidding me? It was episode 1 or bust. I thought for sure. I mean, you're shaking your head,
Well, but-
Bryce.
No, I.
Were you in on episode 1, or did it take you a while?
It took a minute. It took a minute.
Okay.
Well, and the other thing is, Better Call Saul episode 4, that means after episode 4, 70% stuck around. That means a bunch of people just blew it off after episode 1.
Yeah.
We don't know how many people watched episode 1 and abandoned. We just know that from whatever audience stuck around through episode 4, 70% of them stay.
A lot of these I totally do agree with. BoJack Horseman episode 5, I think that's right. I think BoJack Horseman takes longer than most of the rest of the Amazon or the Netflix originals to get into. House of Cards episode 3, 100% agree with that.
These later ones too, like Once Upon a Time episode 6, The Blacklist episode 6, How I Met Your Mother episode 8. These are 20 plus long episode seasons.
Yes.
So of course the math is just going to skew it out a little more.
Well,
all of the things like Better Call Saul that are only 10 to 13 episodes are going to tend to have an earlier episode because math.
But yes, that is true. However, there's also side-by-side examples. For example, I believe both The Walking Dead and The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt both had 10 episodes in their first season. The Walking Dead, people were hooked by episode 2. Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, people were hooked by episode 4, which I think is accurate in both of those. I might be wrong. In fact,
and House of Cards, similar sized season, episode 3, right in the middle.
Correct. Which spells but it does seem to be like the magic number is that first third of the first season is what it takes to get into things.
And that feels right to me, actually. As much as I'm criticizing, the validity of this stat, episode 3 usually I know for sure, and there are exceptions like Marco Polo, but usually I know for sure if I'm liking a series or not.
I also wonder how much the sample size is affected or affects the outcome. For example, Sense8 is listed as episode 3 compared to Marvel's Daredevil has episode 5. I have to imagine that Daredevil got, in general, a lot more viewers than Sense8 did.
A lot more people tried it, because they heard great things. That's a good point.
Yeah, so as a result, you tried it and you're like, it's a comic book movie. That's not for me or whatever. So I'd be interested to see what kind of sampling sizes there were for all of that.
Yeah, well, it's not a sample size per se. If you're a statistics nerd, what Brian means is like how many people started these things.
Correct.
Like,
correct.
What were the total amounts to begin with, and how does that affect? Basically, I want to see them open up the data set to all of this and let the stats nerds go to town and see what they could find.
Well, okay, so let's talk about the meta game here. Like, Netflix announced this. They're sitting on all the numbers. They decided to kind of give us a partial release where they released their interpretation of what this means, but they didn't release the numbers themselves, which is something that, of course, Nielsen is trying very hard to find out all those numbers so that they can sell them to Amazon and to Hulu and so on. What would change if they actually gave up all these numbers and just let everyone have the raw data? Is there a good reason why they shouldn't?
Suddenly, everyone would take that data and start going, this one had more viewers than that one, which is not what I was asking for the data to be made open for. I want to see what the trends and everything are. But yeah, you're right. They don't want people to know that. That's proprietary data that helps them in their business negotiations. So they are keeping it secret.
Yeah. Interesting.
Hey, breaking news from October of last year. A ComScore survey found that people in the millennial age group, ages 18 to 34, 24% had either cut the cord or had never had it.
Wait.
So that jives with the Evernote number.
Evernote? with the note that I just wrote down on my iPhone.
the Evercore study that we were talking about earlier.
Oh, good.
So yeah, so their number is accurate.
Right on, dude. Well, shall we gear up?
I think we should.
Actually, I'm too scared. I don't want. I'm being geared up.
Okay, well, it's gonna be a soft gear.
The gear is happening.
The gear is on your face because it's virtual reality gear. It was Oculus Rift Connect conference last week. And as part of the announcement, we're going to get lots of video services on our face should we be willing to put a virtual reality Oculus Rift on our face. Hulu, Netflix, Vimeo, Lionsgate, 20th Century Fox, TiVo, Twitch, and Facebook, all bringing video content to the new Samsung Gear VR headset. That's the one made in conjunction with Oculus, where you need a Samsung phone. Any phone made in 2015 will work. And then you just put it in the Gear VR, which you can get for $99, and you're off to the races VR style, watching Netflix, watching 20th Century Fox movies. VR cinema presentations don't give you surround movies out of two-dimensionally shot movies, but what they do is put you in a room where you can sit down in a comfy couch, and it's like you have a 101-inch screen, and you're sitting watching a big screen TV.
Can I make a hopefully possibly surprising argument for this product?
Yeah. Okay.
we kind of are rolling our eyes these days at 4K displays because it's difficult to really see the difference in the full thing between 4K versus 2K or AKA 1080p. Could it be that by painting only the pixels you happen to be looking at any given time, there's this conservation of quality where it's like, why bother to have an actual 4K, 8K, 16K display if you can put on a pair of goggles and wherever you happen to be looking happens to be at that level of quality?
I see what you're saying, because in a 360-degree presentation, you're not showing all 360 degrees on the screen. It shifts and appears on the screen as you move.
Correct. And as we saw from those wonderful Vimeo presentations in the old days, you go to the ArcLight Theater, you have this amazing curved display. You have 3 35 millimeter projectors working in tandem, all to create this super panoramic display. And if you were sitting in the front row, you look 30 degrees to your left to see the character enter the frame. You look 30 degrees to your right to see him leave the frame. I think that could happen in this VR space, right? And as a result, you could have an incredibly efficient display where it's only showing so many pixels at any given time, but they're the pixels that you're looking at. Second of all, as a magician, as a touring stage performer, I'm not going to lie, it matters the conditions under which you watch stuff. And when you go to most movie theaters, the reason that I've sworn off all movie theaters outside of the Alamo Drafthouse is because one of the things I love about the Drafthouse is if somebody's spending $50 to come to see a movie, they're going to shut the hell up during the movie and they're going to watch. And then you're going to have fantastic food and beverages and you're going to have a high-end experience. If all of a sudden you can create that ecstatic, we're at the premiere experience, and you can, in the middle of an oh crap moment of a Marvel premiere, turn around and see the virtual faces of your friends freaking out the way you're freaking out. That matters. That's part of the movie-going experience. So as silly as all of this looks, I'm actually a huge fan of it because, to be honest, what all of this is doing is it's bringing us back to the way entertainment began, which is a way for all of us to come together and experience the same thing at the same time together.
Well, now the key to this is what you said about other people being in the room with you, which isn't happening.
Correct.
I want to make that clear to people listening.
Correct.
In case they got confused. That's not what was announced. That's not in the app. What Brian's saying, if I get you right, Brian, is sure, this is version 1.
Correct.
But, as we make these happen, then we make the apps have more functionality. You could have these avatars of people in the room around you. And I think that's really interesting because the bad part about watching a movie with goggles on is the same thing that's bad about 3D TVs, right? I have to put a thing on, and now there's a thing between me and the experience. And if I want to sit down with the family, I don't want to have the family all wearing goggles and we can't see each other and hang out. But there's a different aspect as soon as you make that interactive.
Correct.
How do you feel about where it is now, though? Right? Some people are saying, hey, you know what, though? If I'm on a plane or I'm out in, in the countryside, I got VR on. It helps me. I can get a 101-inch screen, which I definitely couldn't bring on the plane with me.
Yeah, I'm actually okay with it, especially if it looks as smooth as it looks. Or cut over to this. Yeah, we'll take a look at this demo. You appear to be a bodiless head sitting there looking at your Netflix television in there. I'm actually cool with all this. In the last 15, 20 years, the two best 3D experiences I've ever had. One was watching Avatar, which had the revelation that instead of shoving stuff in your face, what they should be doing is making the screen look like a portal into another world. The other was a subtle trick that they did during The Life of Pi, during this moment when all of a sudden all these flying fish come flying at the screen, and during one of the scene cuts, they changed the aspect ratio. They put black bars on the top and bottom, and then in the middle of the 3D, one of the flying fish really literally seems to come out of the screen because it goes outside of those black bars on the top and bottom. Imagine if you were able to do that to the nth degree, where all of a sudden, they're flying past you and you look to your left and you're seeing and right, and yes, you're in a theater and so on, and they're flying past you. I think all of those clever visual cues, I think, will create a very, very novel experience, and I have no problem with it. Because let's face it, at the end of the day, the mere fact that we look at moving pictures that make us laugh and cry is a novelty. So the fact that they're going to put a novelty on top of a novelty, I have no problems with.
And this is already stereoscopic. virtual reality projects images at each of your eyes. That's why
Yes.
the goggles are like that. So boom, 3D becomes natural. Suddenly, you're watching everything in 3D, whether it's 3D or not. And so that makes 3D stuff, you're inside the 3D glasses, essentially.
No,
So
and I'm totally cool with that. Like especially like if you're using 3D glasses to experience a virtual 2D thing, and then the 2D thing turns into a 3D window to a next reality, and the 3D comes out of the 2D window at you. I mean, I think it'll be very novel. It'll be a lot of fun,
okay.
and it's not
What if though, Brian? Just what if what you're seeing is presidential candidates Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders debating labor law?
Okay. This is the kind of thing
because that's happening October 13th. CNN is going to stream the presidential debate in virtual reality via the Next VR portal on Oculus.
I will not fault anyone who rolls their eyes at this, who groans, who thinks it's cheesy, it's gimmicky. Yes, it's all of those things. It's the CNN hologram all over again. However, the first time you witness a murder in VR, the first time you see a political protest in VR, it will fundamentally change because HD has changed the way justice is administered in the United States. And I think VR has the ability to do the same.
Wait, HD has changed the way. Back
Yes.
that up. What do you mean by that?
Because
You're just kind of throwing out something there.
No. What I mean by that is 20 years ago, it was not practical to, along with 3 officers, send a cameraman, right? Which is the kind of thing that futurists would project would be in the future. But nowadays, it is possible with a small, high-definition camera to have body cameras. Now, all of a sudden, we have legislation saying that police have to wear high-definition cameras.
That has less to do with HD than just the technology of cameras.
The fidelity matters.
The fidelity of them is also extremely
correct.
good.
That's what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is VR adds a level of fidelity to the experience of being there at moments of history that will make a difference. Even though we think it's cheesy and novel right now, I think it will matter very much 10, 15 years from now.
Can I add something to this talk?
Yeah,
about
sure.
the VR? So it's definitely a weird thing to be excited about Netflix or Hulu on these devices, right? But let's say, look at it from the other angle is, say you order an Oculus or you order a Gear VR, and you open it up, you would think, hey, this thing should run Netflix, right? Like I think that's kind of an interesting perspective to look at it. It's not like a feature selling point, but just
like a base
it
level,
should be able to run a Netflix or something, right?
Well, yeah, because it's the kind of thing where you're going to be on it, you're going to be playing with it, you're going to do the walk around the Italian villa, and then you're going to play the hot new game, and you're going to be like, well, I should be able to do all the things that I do with screens on this. Why can't I watch a movie? And here you go. Good point.
By the way, W. Scottus1 in the chat says he agrees with me, but seriously, at a debate, again, look, this is utterly mock-worthy in all the ways that you want to mock it. I just think that it's a step in the right direction in something that will be impactful in the future.
Well, and what you're saying, Brian, I think, if I get you right, is it's not the debate that needs to be in 360, but if we want to have 360, or rather spherical, since it's more than 360 degrees, as we learned on DTNS today, spherical views of news events, you want to start with something that's in a controlled situation,
right,
like a debate in a room,
right,
but has enough attention on it that people are likely to try it out and be able to test it and give you feedback.
Yeah, you know what? Put this in perspective. Right now, the way we watch presidential debates is largely filtered by the whims of somebody who's smoking cigarettes in the back room saying, ready, camera 3, flip to camera 3, ready, camera 4, go to camera 4, or so on. All of that ends. You have this thing, and all of a sudden you have a front row seat for this. And then, just like it was a culturally defining moment that Nixon allegedly refused to wear makeup for his televised debate, whereas Kennedy did, and it helped shape a generation and so on. That could happen at a debate with VR. It could be the kind of thing that somebody thinks that nobody's watching at this moment, and they roll their eyes one too many times, or they emote, similar to the gore size of the 2000 presidential debates. That could all happen, and it'll be picked up by bloggers who feel like they were there on the front row, thanks to VR.
And then people will complain that everyone just goes with the preset directions when they watch virtual reality. Look around, people. Take control. Don't just go with the default, take control of your viewing. And they won't. Everyone will go with the default. I guarantee you. When you said that will end, that will not end. People are too lazy. They'll occasionally look somewhere else. but they'll let people guide them all the time.
Yeah, I will, and I'm speaking from personal experience here. I'm fascinated by the oddball candidacy of Rand Paul in a Republican debate. I would spend the entire time just watching Rand Paul's reactions to everyone else. So, I don't know.
That's because you're an independent thinker, unlike the rest of the people.
Oh, sheeple. Wake up, sheeple!
The book is called Scam School Academy. And Scam School has a store, too, as well as a posse.
Heck yes. Dude, head on over to scamstuff.com. We ran through in less than 50 hours. We ran through the first 500 copies of Scam School Academy, all signed. You could still get the book right now. It's the best book I've ever written. It's over 300 pages long. It's got 90 plus of the best tricks we've ever put on Scam School. Everything from how to escape from a straitjacket to memorize a deck of cards in seconds. And it's chock full of all these QR codes that allow you to take your phone and jump straight to the episode or see visual illustrations that animated and show you how everything works. I'm extremely proud of it. Head on over to scamstuff.com, type in Scam School Academy.
I just opened right to a picture of Ron Richards.
Oh, yes.
Page 125. If you have the book, go look at Ron Richards' picture on page 125. If you don't have the book, go freaking buy the book.
Fair enough. Shall we move on to the front lines?
Let's do it.
Frontlines.
Netflix has instructions for how to make a button that you press that can power on your TV, launch Netflix, dim your lights, silence your phone, even order food. It's a maker project. You need a soldering iron, but you can press one button to Netflix and then chill.
Oh, okay, I see what you did there. By the way, for those of you wondering what the reference is, watch last week's Night Attack. Tom, okay, you look at this. Is this cheesy? Is this gimmicky? Is it pandering? Or is it just awesome?
You know what? I love this because it's Netflix getting into the maker space and saying, hey, makers, we know there's a lot of you out there. We know this is a cool thing. Like, everybody wants to just be able to, like, press a button and start watching a movie. So we're combining two great tastes in one. I think it's awesome.
More importantly, I think they're showing a lot of respect to the maker movement, and they're finding a natural way for their service to integrate with this space. It's a really cool video. It's a single button. You press the button, the lights dim, it orders you some food, it starts up your devices, and it loads up Netflix. It's amazing. I love it. Hey man, the BBC is the latest to make a kid-friendly version of its streaming service. The children's version of iPlayer will include content from CBBC and CBeebies, two children's channels. And I get the feeling that whoever wrote this really likes the letters C and B, because it's all BBC, CBBC, children's
BBC is the children's channel, and then CBeebies is for really young, like babies, in other words.
So it's closer to Sprout in the U.S.
I guess so, yeah.
Dude, no, that's great. As the father of two kids, I want more playgrounds like this for them to explore in. And that is not just because I have a 2-year-old who constantly asks me to load up Mickey Mouse. No, not that one. No, not that one. No, not that one. No, the other one. Keep going, Dad. And then I spend half my freaking day loading up Disney videos.
Verizon's Go90 streaming service has 3 deals they've announced for new original content. New Form Digital will make 6 short-form comedies and dramas. Endemol will launch 3 series with 2 YouTube stars. If you know Cassie Ho or Sonia Essman, they'll both be making series. And Madonna's Dance On channel will make 80 hours of shows, including a reality series, and hopefully, Brian, a best of previous seasons series showing a champion, Brian Brushwood.
Hold on, it sounded like you said Madonna's Dance On will make 80 hours of reality, including a reality series?
Yeah, so they're probably going to take the Dance On series to this platform in some form, would be my guess. I
think they've announced that it's a choreography reality show.
Okay. Well, regardless, for those of you guys who don't know, Dance On is the channel. The show is called Dance Showdown, and it features yours truly, Brian Brushwood, doing his best to dance his heart out for you. We're going to be begging you guys for votes coming up pretty soon, but do me a favor, head on over to Dance On and check out that website on YouTube. By the way, Netflix's first feature film, Beasts of No Nation, starring Idris Elba. By the way, is there anything he can't do? No. It comes to streaming October 16th, but will hit some Curzon cinemas in Britain October 9th. Why? Because awards. That's why.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. Like, Amazon and Netflix have both announced they're doing it, and this is the first time we for sure going to get a Netflix movie in theaters because that's how you get nominated for the awards. You have to have it in the theaters. So Netflix and Amazon both want their original movies to get considered. The Crouching Tiger sequel is supposedly going to hit theaters here in the U.S. as well.
Was it this year or last year that we saw a similar effort from Amazon? Because I remember we had reported on it, but I don't remember.
I think it was the end of last year they tried to get in for, or we may be thinking of documentaries, because I think Netflix has shown some of their documentaries, not feature films, but their documentaries in theaters in order to get in on the awards.
Well, speaking of Amazon, shall we see what's under surveillance?
Yeah, there's a lot. Now, we don't have a date of when these are coming, but Amazon has announced their new pilots that will be available for your consideration in the US, UK, Germany, and Austria. I'm just going to run through them here, Brian, and you give me the yay or nay.
Got it.
Edge, based on the book series by George G. Gilman, pitched as the most violent Western in print.
I got to admit, Tom,
Max Martini.
I apparently have heard some inside sauce through the grapevine, aka you, that this is among people who have worked on it one of the most exciting westerns and series they've worked on. So I'm excited about it.
Yeah, the editor who's working on it emailed us on Daily Tech News Show and said it's the most exciting thing he's worked on. Good Girls Revolt. Female researchers at News of the Week asked to be treated fairly in 1969. All-star cast here. Genevieve Angelson of Backstrom, Anna Camp from Pitch Perfect, Aaron Dark from We Need to Talk About Kevin. It's got Jim Belushi in it, a bunch of other folks.
Can I surprise you here? You watched me go through a season and a half of Mad Men before I finally gave up on it. And part of the reason I gave up on it is just wore its, misogyny on his sleeve and all that stuff. I think I would really dig a pro-feminist version of that world, where it's like I saw it from their perspective, trying to fight for equal rights. I think I could really get into that.
Well, and this has got real people in it. Grace Gummer plays Nora Ephron, for instance. Joy Bryant plays Eleanor Holmes Norton. So it's based on a true story, which Mad Men was only inspired by true events.
Yeah.
Slight difference.
No, I'm in.
About 19-year-old Heiston Liggets, who has imaginary celebrity friends only he can see, and the pilot episode features Flea and Shaq.
We'll see. I ain't making no judgments. Let's watch that.
Could it be Wilfred? Could it be Suckage?
Yes.
We got three more here. One Mississippi, based on the life of Tig Notaro as she deals with the complex reentry into her childhood hometown of Bay St. Lucille, Mississippi, to deal with the unexpected death of her mother, the interminable life of the party, Caroline. Executive producer Louis C.K. and Tig Notaro, written and EP'd by Ms. Notaro herself.
Yes. A million times this, yes. I assume it's her playing a fictionalized version of herself and her story and her complicated...
what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Patriot, life of intelligent officer John Tavner. Stars Australian newcomer Michael Dorman of Wonderland. His latest assignment is to prevent Iran from going nuclear.
Okay.
Terry O'Quinn from Lost is in it, too.
You know what? What else is on the list, Tom?
Z is the last one. It's a biopic series about Zelda Sayre Fitzgerald, wife of F. Scott Fitzgerald. The story starts right before she meets F. Then they meet, and then they date, and all kinds of stuff. Christina Ricci is playing Zelda.
Heck yes.
All right. Mr. Robot's coming to the UK. Finally, you UK listeners can watch Mr. Robot on Amazon Prime Video. It's exclusive to Amazon starting October 16th. Never been available in the UK before legally. Mr. Robot will also be a streaming exclusive for Amazon in the US, Germany, Australia, and Japan.
Great. Nothing but great news. Although I suspect everybody listening to our voice that's in the UK has already watched it through other means. But that's still fantastic.
No, they haven't. They're law-abiding citizens, Brian, and they've been waiting for this very news.
If they're watching Mr. Robot,
here's the better news. Netflix announced it has commissioned 12 new episodes of Black Mirror with Charlie Brooker and Annabelle Jones developing the show just like the first series. The series will premiere in all Netflix territories except the UK and Ireland, implying that some details need to be worked out with Black Mirror's previous network, Channel 4. So you might get it on Netflix there. You might get it on Channel 4. You might get it on both at different dates. And in fact, an episode rollout plan will be announced later. Again, Netflix implying that you might not get all 12 episodes at once. Brian, I'd guess we're probably going to get 2 or 3 clumps of them because they
And
came out
that's-
4-episode batches before.
Yeah, that's okay with me because like it's always been an anthology series, right? It's like we're accustomed to that with BBC Productions, with the Channel 4 productions of what's the joke from The Simpsons? It's like the longest running series ever, 8 episodes long. I mean, it's like we're accustomed to that. I can't figure out who this is a bigger win for: Netflix for getting the exclusive on Black Mirror, or Black Mirror for getting the the cultural cachet of being a Netflix original now.
I'm going to coin a phrase here for this, what you're describing, Brian.
Yeah.
I feel like it's win-win.
What? Hold on, that seems really catchy.
Yeah, because they're winning, and so is Netflix. So it's win, or should it be win-win-win since there's 2 producers?
Well, and then but also we win, so there'd be 4
So it's
wins
win-win-win-win.
because we get more Black Mirror.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
But also we wonder when we're going to get the deliverables. So it's really 5 wins. It's win, 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 when, and then we want to know, and then the answer is now.
Win. Yeah, something like that. Hey, man, lots of stuff actually got watched this past week. You wouldn't believe it, how many things now that the fall season is back. Brian and I watched Utopia episodes 3 through 6. I apologize in advance, folks, but we're going to spoil these next week.
Yeah, we're going to hold off on Utopia. I guess do you want to talk about the Muppets? We can spoil the Muppets right now, right? Because
no, we can't spoil anything in the main Cordkillers, no matter how much you want to rationalize it in your head.
Yeah.
But if you were to not spoil it, what would you say?
I mean, I would say I was weirded out. Please, world, tell me I'm not the only one who noticed that all the voices weren't on point. That they, this is coming from...
You haven't seen the most recent Muppet movies, have you?
I have watched. I watched the most recent, or not the most recent one, the one from last year, but the one from 2 years ago. I watched, and I felt like Kermit sounded very different. But maybe I'm alone in that. You guys write us at cordkillers@gmail.com. We also watched Rick and Morty, which we'll talk about very briefly in spoiler in time, and The Shield. But spoiler alert on Utopia. Watch it. Get your hands on it by whatever means necessary. It's fantastic.
I'm continuing to watch Star Trek Voyagers here and there. Watch the season premiere of Empire, and if you liked last season of Empire, you're still going to love this season of Empire, and it's got a guest appearance by Chris Rock in this episode, which is fantastic because he's not funny. He's scary, and he's really good. Doctor Who episode 2 made me feel much better about episode 1. It's still very Doctor Who, but I thought it wrapped up really well, and there was some good patter from the folks involved. We actually watched the iTunes Music Festival London Pharrell show. This is the beauty of the new chord cut house of the Merritts. My wife, Eileen, is actually like, there's this music festival on the Apple TV. Can we watch it? And so we fired that up. I've been watching a bunch of Rugby World Cup. There's been really great games. Watched some baseball on MLB.TV. Watched the season premiere of Once Upon a Time, which I found fantastic. Watched the season premiere of Bob's Burgers, which is still funny. And actually watched Godzilla on HBO Now because I'd never seen it, and I just wanted to kill some time one night. All of this done without a cable subscription, by the way.
Yeah, man. I forget that you are in the novel, blue skies and green grass fields.
You know what? It's not.
phase.
It's not that at all. I am not in the novel blue skies era. This feels perfectly normal. The weirdest thing about cutting the cord is I haven't noticed.
Yeah.
There's not a single thing I'm doing that is really that different. I'm watching things over the air on TiVo. I'm watching things on Hulu. But I know, well, here's the one thing that's different, Brian, and why I mentioned it is in the past, I would read out this list and then I would carefully say, this is available on MLB.TV. This is available on Amazon, because I didn't want people saying, and we'd got people saying this, you watch all this stuff because you have cable. What about for us cord cutters?
Oh, now that you're an
now
exemplar.
I can literally say there was no cable in the house. You can't. I can't pretend that I watched it. I had to watch it.
I mean, that goes for both of us now. Like everything for the current time, everything you hear either of us mention that we watched, you can take it on not faith, but you could take it as fact that we watched it without having any kind of cable subscription.
Yeah. So anyway, lots of good stuff to watch out there. What have you been on the lookout for, Bryce?
Hey guys, this was a suggestion from Ken McDowell on Twitter. This is a Western called Strange Empire. I'm going to pull up the trailer for you. It is I'll read you the the copy.
The
they got.
pitch.
Strange Empire is a dark, gritty drama set in the 1860s, but in this western, the men have disappeared and the women are in charge and must survive in an Alberta, Montana frontier town. The first episode is very heavy on setting this whole scene up, but basically there's a caravan headed to New Canada. And you've got a group of you got a doctor and his wife that are going to go and be
on the surface. This sounds like Why the Last Man. Is it similar?
I don't know Why the Last Man, but this is set in 18. It's not.
Yeah, sure. Different time period, but I would imagine the dynamics would be similar.
Possibly. Basically, what happens is that there's kind of a bandits Indian situation where the men are sort of removed from this group of people, and the women are taken to Janestown.
So it's not a supernatural vanishing of men.
I
or
see
anything?
more than
very
one
much
guy in this trailer.
Well, and this is a lot of the first episode.
Okay.
And the town that they go in has men, but the people that you're following, the main characters, the men in their lives are sort of taken away, and they have to fight for their own freedom.
Dude, I love this. Yeah. This sounds like all this stuff that I loved a lot about Why the Last Man.
Tanagasa says, did he say Janestown? Yes, that's what they call it because there's a big brothel. It's like
Jane, a man they call Jane.
All right.
This is 13 episodes, 13 one-hour episodes. You can find it on Netflix. And it has actually been canceled from the CBC.
That's so hard for me to want to dive into.
And I can't say whether or not it's an actual conclusive ending or not because I didn't get a chance to finish it all. But the first episode sets up a pretty interesting drama, an action drama. So,
all right, yeah, it's like steampunk Why the Last Man. It's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I like the idea behind it a lot. Let's get some dispatches from the front, Brian.
As long as they're from the front. And as long as the first one comes to us from BioCow, who says, "Hi, Tom and Brian. First, the tip. 2 words, go bag. My wife and I travel a lot and have created 2 electronics go bags, one for short trips and one for longer ones. Each bag contains 30-pin lightning cables, 30-pin and lightning cables, USB wall plugs, mini USB, micro USB, multi-card readers for cameras, random USB drives, some with shows and movies on them, mini plug bars with USB ports, mini flashlights, and most importantly, an HDMI cable with converter for both 30-pin and lightning to play Hulu, Netflix, Amazon, etc. on most asterisk hotel TVs. Also tape for covering various glowing things around the room. Recently, I thought about getting a Chromecast to replace the bulky HDMI cable and the adapter. It would be much nicer than having the iPad hooked up directly to the TV, which requires getting up and going to the TV to change shows. Having a bright yellow or red one would make it easy to find in the go bag. So as soon as we can arrive, I can grab it and throw on something on the TV while we unpack. Just a thought and maybe a tip for those who travel a lot. Thank you so much. BioCow says he's had about 90% success rates over the last 4 years.
That's fantastic. Great tips in there.
Yeah.
Dominic has another tip. He's recently been using an add-on for Kodi, the former XBMC, called Pseudo TV. This add-on allows you to build channels from your own media in Kodi and present the channels in a guide format similar to a cable service. When the add-on is started, it generates streams from your library and is already playing. So if you wanted to create your own Sling TV or cable-like experience, you can. It even works with an HD home run for antenna channels. So you could have over-the-air broadcast NBC, ABC, CBS, and then the cartoon channel that you curate and program yourself. He actually made a nice video. We'll include the link in the show notes with a brief review and short screencast if you're interested in checking it out. It's up on YouTube. Really, really cool thing here. And especially if you like buy stuff from iTunes and then, you may be violating the DMCA if you do this, but remove the digital or remove the DRM from them, you could then take all of those legally purchased videos and make channels out of them. It's like running your own TV station.
Yeah, which is funny because you find yourself in the strange situation of not only programming for yourself, but programming material that you plan to shrug at and go like, no, I'm going to watch the other thing. Like you find yourself making both the Denny's you'll eat at and the one you chose not to eat at.
And then you start rating your channels, and then you have to break it to one of your channels that's just not getting any views.
Exactly. You're breaking down by your own demographic.
And then you start criticizing one of your channels because it used to be about science fiction, but they've added all this wrestling in lately.
Rob from Damascus, Maryland says he did it, sort of. He says, I know, where you want, yada, yada. I just sent back the Fios TV boxes, turned off my home phone, bought a cell phone amplifier, just me, 75, and Netflix Prime, etc. Except Verizon Fios has a plan for local channels that actually lowers the price of the plan by $20. Just send back the box and run the coax into the back of the TV, and voila! Good for me in the sports, but did I hurt the cause? Do we have a cause? That's what Rob wants to know. I think it's... you want to take this one? Go for it.
I say we have a cause, and the cause is helping you control what you watch, when you watch, where you watch, and on what device you watch. And if this satisfied that, then this is totally part of the cause. It's about your choice and you being able to get what you want.
Yeah, we are totally platform agnostic. All we care about is being able to watch what you want, when you want, on whatever damn device you please. And if that's the device you damn please, then by all means, but go for it.
And Jay in Ohio finishes us off, said, I wanted to say another place where offline viewing is important is in RV campgrounds. As someone who goes RVing several times a year, I could say that campgrounds don't always have Wi-Fi, or if they do, it's usually pretty bad. Labor Day weekend, my wife and I went RVing and it rained. She was sick. Luckily, I used the DirecTV Genie Go app to download several shows to our tablet. We were able to catch up on our shows without using bandwidth. I can't imagine the price, since we did have 4G, that kind of viewing would have added to our bill. Unlike the farmer who emailed in last week, we only have a 4 gigabyte plan. So, yeah, when you're out camping, RVing, stuff like that, another place for offline viewing. Nicely done, Jay.
I'll tell you what, this is, I could personally vouch for this because my in-laws, again, who I've mentioned I use as kind of a canary in a coal mine here, they RV'd down the road from us for 2 full years. And they certainly would have loved the ability to go to the local library, download a bunch of Netflix programming. I mean, they basically paid for Netflix and were never able to watch it for 2 full years during the time that they RV'd because it just wasn't available and it wasn't feasible over the mobile plan.
Well, that is it for this episode of Cordkillers, slightly abbreviated. And again, we'll have a slightly abbreviated spoiler in time as well because we give you the bonus of the winter movie draft coming up. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live on diamondclub.tv Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Brian Brushwood, you're the best in the world.
No, that can't be true because you're the best in the world.
Oh, stop.
Yo, quantum physics. Hey guys, Tom and Brian here. We just wanted to say thank you to all of our $5 patrons who keep us loud, live, and independent. You guys make Cordkillers the production that it is.
Your name appears in the video credits and appears in our hearts. And if you'd like to become one of them or see who they are, you can go to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
You'll need to do more than just go there, though. You'll have to sign up and, pledge an amount. But
unless you just want to see who they are.
Well, I mean, you could gawk. That's a little creepy, isn't it?
If you want to be a gawker,
let's go.
It's up to you.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.